The Integrity Ignite Series returns to the road course swing. Two best drivers historically at the top of the charts. At this rate now, Thomas Bressi and JTM Motorsports see themselves at the top of the championship pylon, pulling away further from rival Blake Cannon. More than 40 drivers have registered for what is to be the biggest field and the longest race at this upstate New York circuit that we've seen in the modern era of the Integrity Racing. Welcome back live on FTN Broadcasting to coverage of the Integrity Ignite Series. This is our 12th race of the 2025 campaign. All 43 drivers registered have made their way to Schuyler County, New York. This is Watkins Glen International. 2.45-mile NASCAR Cup Series configuration is in use tonight, and the iconic circuit that we've now seen in action for more than 40 consecutive years is back on display again in Racing World. It will be in only a few minutes' time the green flag goes off. And we'll bring you through our pre-race coverage. I'll be your host for tonight's broadcast. I'm David Kreutz, commentating, and welcome back as we get things going in Watkins Glen for our third consecutive year. On here once yearly so far with the Ignite Series. 2023, 2024 as well. And now we're extending this race and giving it a little bit more time. Drivers get to work in qualifying today. Casey Shue, one of those getting a move on. That's the number 14. Casey, 11th place so far. Scott Eckrich at the top of the board. Eckrich, dominant in his previous road course starts and, of course, the Octane Series. Circuit of the Americas, he put things together. Able to get the job done for a dominant victory over Ethan Lane and Blake Cannon of all drivers. Not just the other drivers in the field, but two of the best outright history of this series, of course, and this league. We'll all be racing again tonight as Eckrich is at the top of the board by nearly a quarter of a second. Thomas Bressi will then be second, and Matthew Thunhorst will be third. Thunhorst is now second in the championship points, the highest position he's been in over a year now, and an upgrade at long last has himself a chance at the title. He'll have to keep moving further and try to find his way to a first win on the year. Still hasn't happened just yet, but the consistency has been remarkable. That's what's gotten him up to this point. Drivers have 10 minutes to complete laps, so a majority of which will be done before the checkered flag falls on this session. Thomas Bressi comes to a close. He gets it up to second. It looks like Ethan Lane is going to make it up into fifth, but Matthew Thunhorst goes up to the top of the board. Thunhorst for P1 by 39 one-thousandths of a second. That is a 112.808. Matthew Thunhorst gets off the racing circuit, and then from there, DJ Stagner keeps. Stagner right now is 18th on the timing pylon, and if he comes across the line, he'll be slightly quicker, good enough to move him up to the 12th spot. So Stagner for 12th place, 5 minutes left on the clock. Sebastian Miller now making his move, and Seb Miller looking to get it back up there for the Swamp Motorsport guys. He got his first win in the Highline Racing League just a few weeks ago, and now the Integrity Ignite Series is next up on his checklist of that he can get a win in. Miller on the way. 4 minutes and 45 seconds remain. Jack Drucker gets up to 4th place and gets it off the circuit. Sebastian, one of the few drivers now without a time. Nicholas Ward heading down to pit road. Ward goes 10th with a 113.309. As Nicholas makes his way through, he's going to be just outside of the sub-113 barrier. Don Stevenson on pit road, as is Will Reichert. Brandon Bernhardt slides through turn 1. Just caught up to him here, and as you can see, it looks like he's backed it down and is looking to get back on the way. Bernhardt's already got his time in, and he's going backwards. He is 36th right now in the timing charts. A little bit further back on the front running than he would like to be, of course. Bernhardt going to find himself working from the back up if he wants to succeed tonight. He gets off the racetrack. Gavin Fitzgerald also slides. Now Boomer Logan, one of the few giving it an effort. 39 drivers have taken a time, only now 4 of which from 40th on back have yet to put one in. Boomer in the 94 is on the move in the 36th position. Durham in the 21 has not gotten on track. Neither has Andrew Schaub or Cole Freilich, nor has Michael Stroll. It looks like the drivers right now who do not have a time don't have the intention of taking one. Boomer Logan, 36th in his laps. He's now just taking some extra times here. No big differences are going to be recorded in this final run. Logan putting 2 laps in, as the majority of the field has now, and we're still waiting for the final 4 drivers. 3 minutes left on the clock. Matthew Thunor stands as the top performing driver on the field. Cody Smith gets up to 15th. Fifth and number 18 right now, firmly in the upper mid-pack, and it looks like he will not lose that position unless there are some surprises later on. We're running at a time now for even the last of drivers to get on the track, so if there are to be any surprises, these drivers better figure out when they're going to head on the circuit. Don Stevenson still on pit road, Will Reichert as well, Smith sliding. That's going to leave the 18 as the only driver going at it. Cody getting a little bit more practice time than other drivers here, and making it through now the final segment past the Jackie Stewart grandstands and making his way toward the Gold Bowling Bridge. 8 turns on this configuration, one of the shortest ones of the Watkins Glen International Complex. Now to the inside goes Cody Smith. Guess with 2 minutes left on the clock, backs it in. That's going to leave the track effectively empty now. Comes to drivers taking qualifying time. Steve Durham, Andrew Schaub, Cole Freilich, and Michael Stroll have all decided not to head on the racetrack. Don Stevenson is on pit road. Stevenson has himself up to 8th place right now, so Don not much concern as to where he's going to start, but it looks like staying on pit road here and wasn't able to complete the second lap. Stevenson's one of the better road course racers historically in the Octane Series. He got himself a victory at the Charlotte Oval. He was able to win in 2-3, and that was his clutch victory that got him through into the playoff picture. Stevenson, driver who's won before when it matters most at a road course, able to do it again, and finds himself with a minute plus remaining in the top 10 in qualifying. With that a driver still not to hit the track, it looks like your lineup is effectively solidified. We're waiting now just to get the final confirmation. Don Stevens sits on pit road. The rest of the field is ready to get to work. Championship standings right now. Take a look overhead. They're going to be pretty tight, and a lot of those guys at the head of the field are, again, the road course ringers of old. Thomas Bressi leads the championship by 47 points over Matthew Thunhorst. Blake Cannon then finds himself third place, 77 points back, and Arbuck is P4, minus 9. Jack Drucker, your Daytona winner, has now fallen to 5th place, 100 points behind, and Thomas Bressi notably has stretched the gap even further on Blake Cannon. Cannon had a solid race last week, but even still, over the past 2 months, the gap between Cannon and Bressi has led by 77 points. The tied for the championship earlier on in the campaign. That is no longer the case. Matthew Thunhorst is looking for his breakout night, however, and the number 8 team grabs the pole position. It'll be Matthew Thunhorst taking it to the top and bringing this field to green tonight with a top qualifying time of a 1:12.808. Matthew Thunhorst to the point from Watkins Glen. Thunhorst's time goes quickest, just enough to even best his teammate. Matthew looking for a victory that is long awaited for the inaugural regular season champion in Ignite Series history. Who else but the number 8 team to bring it back up top for JTM Motorsport? So far, Bressi already has a victory, while Matthew now collects his second pole of the season, yet to find victory lane in his own right. That could change tonight as we go through your starting lineup for the Watkins Glen International Circuit. Matthew Thunhorst grabs the pole position for our 57-lap Grand Prix. No cautions are to be expected, so that qualifying position and henceforth track position will prove especially important. Then from there, you'll have Scott Eckrich in P2, 2. Third place in Thomas Bressie and Jack Drucker in 4th. Rounding out the top 5 is going to be the number 9 machine, Justin Morton. Morton goes 6th place as Ethan Blaine puts it up in his 7th. No choice but for Ethan tonight to perform early and keep that performance strong, as we're not going to see any major strategy calls made without alternative measures, such as an unexpected. 7th place in qualifying goes Hunter Madalenas, with Don Stevens 8th, Ronnie Osmer 9th, and Nicholas Ward concluding the top 10. For 11th place, Rob Ackley. Garrett Davis then concludes the top dozen. He'll go P12. 13th place is DJ Stagner. Then you'll have 14th in Blake Gordon. And top 15 is Cody Smith with Jacob Fife, Braxton DeWeese, Nick Tarbuck. And the last 2 drivers in the top 20, Blake Cannon and Sebastian Miller. Cannon not qualifying where he'd like to be, and that's going to be pivotal again for the championship race, where every point matters. Brent McClendon goes P21 with 22nd in Casey Shue. 23rd is Gael Brooks, a former podium sitter at a race Monza last year, and Michael Laraya finds himself 24th. Round out the top 25, driver then of the number 7, Brian McFerrin. 26th is Ryan Potter. 27th is Kyle Cooper. Will Reichert is 28th. Elliot Henderson goes P29, and it will be the number 77 of Paul Mikolajczyk. After a huge incident last week in Motegi, he will be starting in the 30th place. 31st, then goes Josh Christman, with Andrew Hamilton 32nd, Josh Gallagher 33rd, Gavin Fitzgerald 34th, and Daniel Foss in 35th. P36 is Boomer Logan, and you'll have 37th place in Vinny Tigner. Cal Filarski in 38th, and Brandon Bernhardt, the final driver to take a time, in 39th. The 4 drivers who chose not to take a lap go as follows. In Cole Freilich, the number 15, he'll start in the 40th spot. 41st, Michael Stroll. You'll have Steve Durham in the 21, that P42 driver. And last of all on the field tonight is Andrew Schaub in the number 86. 3 drivers, a full stock car field at this 2.45-mile road course. It's our biggest ever race by attendance in a road circuit in the Ignite Series. Welcome back to Watkins Glen. We're going to get back to business with the Finger Lakes Grand Prix in less than 5 minutes' time. Your pole sitter, second in the championship standings, Matthew Thunhorst for JTM Motorsport. Currently, JTM at the top of the timing sheets once again in this final warm-up session. That comes virtue of Justin Morton. While Morton is on a record, shall we? Here, he gets back on the pit road. He's got himself a record of stops through a full road course race we've gotten through. That is a tie with 0, and he ended up winning that race. It was Monza in 2024. We mentioned that Gael Brooks was able to sit on the podium that night. That was by virtue of an alternate strategy. We had 3 cautions to begin that race, and period of about 9 laps held under pacing. As a result, Morton stayed out on the circuit when nobody else did, and the track position proved to be the winning combination. All the rubber, but a lot of distance. Matthew Thunhorst, again, high stakes for the number 18 tonight. If he really wants to prove that he's got it in him to be a road course winner and a race-winning contender on a regular basis, if he's right, would mean everything to this team. Thunhorst currently sits outside of the timing charts in this warm-up session. 8 seconds left on the clock. Eckridge, Bressie, Morton, all coming through, but it's going to be Scott Eckridge this time around with the fastest time. He puts down the quickest by nearly 3.5 tenths of a second. Final warm-up, just an extra opportunity to practice, but it becomes serious now as drivers get ready to roll off the Gold Bowling Bridge into the first 90-degree turn. Pit road going to be busy one more time. Expected to be all green from this point onward. iRacing official pace car. Right behind it, the full field. Scott Eckridge in number 70 with an opportunity. 70 crew. Victories in Night and Octane Series at a road course. Matthew Matthew Thunhorst also looking for that perfect chance. So far, Eckrich has broken out well in the Integrity Octane Series and has really made himself a force to be reckoned with at that level of competition. The Night Next-Gens have suited his driving style, but above all else, he'll be one of the best drivers, earning no matter what. Scott gets up to the front of the field once again. While he's not up front of the championship race, critical for Scott to really make his name known. He's 47th right now in the championship standings. Doesn't have himself, of course, greatest total catalog. Right now, not a top 5 nor top 10 to his name. This series, anyhow. That could change. One good race. Seventh in the championship means his big priority is just to get some seat time and maybe go after a victory tonight, whereas Matthew Thunhorst is competing directly again with his Pressy. They're going to line up right with each other, as a matter of fact, and they'll have the right-hand side, which will be preferential into turn 1, Watkins Glen. First turn is a right turn. Rightward, and go up the S's. And Thunhorst, he'll have the opportunity to bring his teammate through quickly and sequentially. .43 driver field, from beginning to end, stacked talent. 39 drivers taking a time, and while the spread further back, the 39th anyhow, is several seconds, looks like just about 20 drivers are with second of your qualifying leader, Matthew Thunhorst. And when it goes back a little bit further, about 42 of which are with last of which would be Andrew Hamilton, number 16. Hamilton right there in the number there, of course. And others, John Gallagher or Gavin Fitzgerald or Josh Christman, back end of the field, but even still, some strong times being taken. Don't expect for these drivers to have an easy time fighting up through the field, but it won't be impossible. Getting ready to roll for opening lap, Thunhorst, Eckrich, the leading drivers. Track conditions are going to be very mild today. Sun not shining to this. Track temperature is only 83 degrees Fahrenheit. Expecting to see a two-stop strategy on the day. Under 60 laps, pit stop cycle should come in at just before 20. Matthew Thunhorst sees the sunshine for the first time tonight in Watkins Glen, and so goes the cue to bring it up to speed. He'll be side by side with Scott Eckrich as we go through our opening corners, 3 wide behind him, but it's all Thunhorst into your opening turn, the 90-degree. Welcome back to Watkins Glen. DJ Stagner goes around as they go through the carousel. The rest of the field has gotten away cleanly through this opening section. You hear Stagner from 13th in qualifying is now going to fade way back. DJ in the number 64 car got it back going quickly, but it's going to fall far out of up-front contention. Going to be tricky now for him to return. You'll see him closer now to Vinny Tigner, who's going to be running outside the top 30. Matthew Thunhorst, nevertheless, will come across the line and remain your race leader. Scott Eckrich, second. Going to be now Jack Drucker and Thomas Bressi jockeying for third. Advantage is Drucker across the stripe. 2 laps in, out of 57. Now, in our previous runs at Watkins Glen, we've gone for a 40-lap Grand Prix as opposed to 57 laps. We've extended that by about 17 today to give more opportunity not only for longer green flag racing, as 40 laps goes rather quick here, but also for the fact that we could get a little bit more strategy, a little bit dicier, more intense for drivers, and they'll have to think a little bit more as to how exactly they approach the circuit. It won't be easy in the slightest to get that figured out just right. Look back, and Jack Drucker's got those top two. He's brought a beat on them, but he hasn't made a move yet. Eckridge has stayed watching the number 8 of Thunder and has let the defense, of course, take care of itself. Not making any advantageous moves for the 70 crew yet. Eckridge looks low, but he's going to do so out of the final corners where he won't be able to make a pass on the outside. Across the line again, all Matthew Thunder. He'll be side-by-side further behind, but as you can see, that top 10 nature of single-file racing comes back in. It comes back really in full force in a night like this. 5 over the number 47, Don Stevenson there. He's now 8th and 9th. Bob Ackley finished 4th in our first ever trip to Watkins. He's now up inside the top 10. Ackley is a sneaky driver. You got to watch out for him in these road courses. He might not be one of the flashiest, gotten it done before, but he is one of the better to have gone through consistently. Ackley, of course, the first ever Ignite Series winner. He still doesn't have a road course win under his back pocket. However, good performance could keep him up in the championship race as he is just outside the upper echelon. Bob right now is looking just to make continued gains. He and Domination Intimidation Racing are sitting largely in the mid-pack, 21st in the championship standings right now for Rob. The leading teammate of those in points is Nick Tarbuck. Nick right now sits inside the top 5, and although he's 19th in this race, he's 4th in the championship standings, and only 17 back on a falling Blake Cannon. Tarbuck is to make the most out of the race. It'll be 3rd place he gets up to. Championship race anyhow. Rob Ackley making some gains in the mid-pack. Up front, it could be Tarbuck versus Cannon. Blake has gone from 19th to 11th until nowhere near the 2 drivers ahead of him in points, one of which is your race leader. Jack Drucker falling back just a little bit back on now. Eckridge has got a little bit more distance though to Jack Drucker, and here about 8.5 tenths between number 8 of Matthew Thunhorst. All these drivers aren't going to be expecting to push hard on Thunhorst, but instead let the resources come through. 4 laps in out of 57. A lot of time to save equipment. Most important not to burn that stuff up. Matthew Thunhorst takes the big risk by being out there. The road course in particular, even though it isn't a dirt track. Spoke about this on Thursday night with the Highline Racing League. You're still a little bit of the guinea pig in a sense if you're the driver leading the way. The biggest advantage of all though is that the track isn't as important and you have that track position. The ovals are very formulaic in terms of how you go at them time and time again, but oftentimes it's very dependent on drivers around you in a road course. So if you're comfortable up in front, that is the biggest of deals, and that's what's given Eckridge a little more of a hard time getting up to Matthew Thunhorst. He doesn't have to worry about anyone behind him as he stays further in front, and there's absolutely nobody ahead. Even up in the upper mid-pack, you have to worry about everything around you. 360 degrees. So much worse for a driver because it compromises your line and it initially compromises your confidence. Michael O'Ryan follows Casey. In speed shop number 44, Michael O'Ryan. Maybe not the best qualifying effort for this 44 team either. Again, former Octane Series champion. In fact, he would be the defending champ if he wanted to go out there and fight for that title. He's taking his talents over to the Ignite Series, and he's looking to go for 2 championships, 2 different series. Right now, O'Ryan might not find himself all the way at the front of the field championship-wise, but he's dipping his toes into this full-time campaign and seeing what he can come up with. Michael is 11th place in the championship standings so far. Might not be the most dominant driver just yet, getting himself figured out. Hunter Madalenis dropped 6 points in the championship after missing another race. Looks like now, with that further drop back, could be time for Michael O'Ryan to enter the top 10. The gap between O'Ryan and Madalenis is coming into today. Right now, you'll see Hunter up in 6th place. Hero 7 team stays up in front here. He'll have no trouble defending that position from Michael O'Ryan, and it should be a defending and holding the position, if not going up further, for the 07 crew. Thomas Bressi watching back now. Bressi's dropped back from 3rd to 4th. Might fall back to P5 if Hunter doesn't pressure him anymore, though. He could be able to hang on. Taking a look on the back end now, the Exalta Chevrolet. This number 2 knows what it's like to win at Watkins Glen. Moreover, knows what it's like to be one of the best at the road courses. FTN Motorsport prides itself on having one of the dominant alternative package, such as these road course races. And when you go away from the traditional oval, it's usually the 8, the 24, and the 9 all up at the head of the field. 2023, they were sequential. 1, 2, 3 almost every time around. Tonight, not so much, but you can see they're all 3 still in the top 10. And Justin Morton still has a fair shot to make it 5th, so it could be all 3 of them in the top 5. They're a specialized team in that regard. They're an all-around threat, yes, but you ask Thomas Bressi, or you ask Thunhorst, or you ask Justin Morton, that team knows that their biggest strength of all has always been road courses and doing things different in that sense. Although it might be a little bit more of that stiff competition in 2025, historically speaking, the numbers still prove themselves each time we head out to the racetrack. Matthew Thunhorst is set to come across the stripe this time by. As he does, he's going to have Scott Eckrich behind him, Jack Drucker still further back, and Eckrich has not yet been able to make a move. It looks like a little bit less confidence to use the number 70 car to his advantage. The agency in the leading driver is a big deal at Watkins Glen. The circuit of the Americas is a very long, winding technical circuit. We visited it earlier with the Octane Series here. That, of course, is Eckrich was take down. That technicality to his advantage because momentum can be started and stopped on a dime at that track. Particularly if your rivaling driver makes a mistake, you'll really have a great chance to get up on them and make some moves. Right now, if you look at that number 70 car, while it doesn't look like he's losing pace, he just hasn't found any gains. The flow of this circuit, Watkins Glen, much better for a driver who knows how to maintain speed on all throughout the racetrack. I think that's the big problem right now if you're Matthew Thunhorst. Of course, big problem if he makes a mistake. Momentum is for everyone, so if he ends up falling short, one turn could be the difference. Likewise, for Eckrich, goes on back. They can't seem to get anything out of it because everyone is so similar in pace. Top 5, let's compare them this time by. Matthew Thunhorst just ran a 1 minute 14.88. Just behind him in second, a 1:14.454. Scott Eckrich. 3rd place, Jack Drucker, 1:14.62. And it was 5th place, Thomas Bressi, 1:14.04. 4.24 for Hunter Madalenis. I mean, the times are remarkably similar. The only difference is the gap they had to begin with. Matthew Thunhorst having track position to start, that was always going to be the be-all, end-all advantage for a night like this. Going through the S's, the leaders seem to be rather secure. We're going to take a look all throughout the field now. Figure out who's got the best battles going on the racetrack. Bill Riker right now looks to be relatively calm, but if you look at the intervals, there are still some battles being fought actively. Michael Araya got by Casey Shue, that's for one. Kyle Brooks is coming up on Elliot Henderson. 15th place to 15th is Cody Smith here. He's coming up on the battle between Nicholas Ward and Braxton DeWeese. Ward to the inside of the number 1 team. DeWeese is loose, but saves it. Nicholas Ward will get the position regardless. That's for 13th. Advantage number 97 coming off the Go Bowling Bridge. Nicholas Ward makes his way, and it'll be Braxton DeWeese fading back as a result. Not at all a bad move made, of course, for the number 97 team, and a great deal that the DeWeese car was able to hang on, even though it was a pretty tense circumstance. They'll continue on battling, and it looks like the job is nowhere near done for either of them. Even outside the top 20, they're still trying to push. Looks like right now distances are much larger further behind as Andrew Hamilton, the Canada right now, has gotten ahead of Jared Davis. Up 8 so far for Ken. Not yet in the top 10, but still a strong performance. Definitely the damage control he needed after a subpar qualifying effort. Take a look now with Jared Davis, 12th to 12th on the day. His remarkable consistency has been his key as well. But so far, it looks like it's been more stagnation than consistency when it comes to positions. Rob Ackley on the outside is going to let Ronnie Osmer go. Osmer shoots through. That'll be now for the 8th position. Here's Don Stevenson and Ronnie Osmer swapping. 55 of Osmer right there with Rob Ackley as well. You got Nicholas Ward and Braxton Louise trailing. And Jacob Fife, Cody Smith. Spin motion number 36 coming up on the Next Level Racing number 18. Both of our premier partners getting a chance to battle each other. League owner Fife hasn't made any big moves just yet, sitting in 16th as Smith has in P15. Take a look aboard with your veteran league owner. Fife is right on that back end for the 18 car. Smith hasn't made a mistake yet, and you see they go through the carousel differently. It was all about the 18 getting a strong exit, but Fife put on the mid-corner pressure. Either way, they just about even out going through the final segment through 7 and 8, the Jackie Stewart grandstand. That's going to give Fife a shot to go under through turn 8. Try to take a pass through. Fife gets it. Smith loose. Nick Tarbuck is going to try to become the company of Fife and follow suit. Like he does. Nick Tarbuck going to put a block on the 18. Cody Smith drops back. Impressive move without a doubt for the number 29 group. Nick Tarbuck makes his way. It'll be Jacob Fife, even still, up now to 15th. Braxton re-squatches back, and he's got Nicholas Ward still ahead of him. What is coming up on Jared Davis? Blake Cannon has still not yet gotten up to Rob Ackley. Matthew Thunhorst is still the heading man. Scott Eckridge has not gotten a shot. Elliott Henderson, 22nd, 23rd, 24th, Gael Brooks, and Kyle Cooper. Cooper right now, number 73, the veteran driver. He's been with us for a long while here. Full time, for the most part anyhow, in both series. Makes the majority of our races in the Octane Series and the Ignite Series as well. 31st in the championship standing so far for the driver of the number 73. Battling against, of course, Gael Brooks. Brooks right now in the championship picture. Not the closest, but he's also running higher. Gael is in 22nd. So he's running about par for the course, given his previous numbers, and he runs 24th position. Any gains for him could be significant as he's going to go up against Ackley, Smith, Fife, Miller, Steven, and Casey Shue. He's got a very strong bundle of drivers, only a few points ahead of him. That comes in part due to some part-time campaigns, such as that of Ethan Lane. Brooks, got to watch out. Competition is very much on in his segment of the circuit. He wants to keep things up and stay inside the top 20 conversation. He'll have to keep the ball rolling. Alternate strategy could be the best way to do so, but we'll see whether or not he gets his shot. Alt number 71 further behind, still your leader. Thunhorst, that time by. Scott Eckridge cut the gap ever so slightly. It's now under 0.4 of a second once again. 11th to 10th is Rob Ackley. Watching as Hunter Matalettis now sees some pressure behind him from Ethan Lane. Markiel Chadwick, thank you for stopping by and supporting our 07 driver. So far has been, without a doubt, the rookie of the season. Lane just back here, been 6th to 6th on the day. 4 seconds behind on leader Matthew Thunhorst now. Taking a look as they go through the exit of the S is Ethan Lane putting the bumper on. Matalettis forced to block on the inside, but Lane surges high. He's quicker, he'll take the spot, and that's going to put Ethan up in the top 5 for the first time tonight. And Lane better watch out now because it could be a spin back maneuver from the 0-7 of Matt Olenis. Let's see if he puts the power down and gets there. It appears so far, no rebuttal from Matt Olenis. At the line for lap number 15, Ethan Lane now the highest spot he's run throughout the day. Still not there with Thomas Bressie just yet. That could change. Nevertheless, gap is under 0.3 of a second once more. Thunderst, Eckridge, first and second here. Going out through the S's again, Scott Eckridge has been so close on pace that it's a problem. Because while he's been a little bit quicker, maybe a few tenths of a second at most per lap, those minor gains can be erased with one mistake. That was a great exit through the corner, though, for Scott. Now he's going to take it high to try to arc the corner and get a good exit going toward the grandstand is. Of course, the grandstands, the front straight, coming together again. Scott Eckridge right there, in perfect position to go through 7 and 8. Left hand and the right hander and keeping it tight. By the front straightaway, he's only about a car length and a half off. Thunderst might be in some real jeopardy here as to whether or not he can keep the race lead across the line again. No dice just yet. Scott Eckridge looking stronger than he has over the past 15 laps. Right behind. Profile train continues all the way down the ladder. Nothing side by side to this point. Casey Shue coming up on Sebastian Miller. This is the battle for 20th here. Miller going to be P20. 21st is Casey Shue, just about a car length and a half back. Differences are pretty well established across the field, though. Not going to see a lot of the side-by-side racing continuously, especially further on back. There's Ryan Potter in the 99. Like right now, he's comfortable where all the way back right now for the 99 team, 29th. Cannon is coming up on Osmer, though. Watch out for this. Cannon looking for what could be 9. First time in the single digits. Ronnie Osmer, another strong rookie so far throughout the year. He finds himself currently 12th in the championship. Had a very strong start the last few weeks. He's been fading further back since Talladega, and it looks like right now he could lose a critical position. Up high, the 55 goes, still barely slides ahead of Cannon. Gonna be a close block. Osmer gets lucky that there was no contact there, but also a nice move to use the outside, even in a disadvantageous position, and recover well. That's the type of thing you have to do right now when you're under pressure. You cannot give up regardless of the circumstance. About 40 laps remaining from this point onward, and it looks like Ronnie Osmer here has put himself back together. Nice spot kept. Here, Blake Cannon still watching back. Cannon's pace makes it almost an inevitability that he gets something out of it. Ronnie slides once again. Cannon, though, gets loose and actually has to back it down to put it back together. Got Eckridge 2/10 back and still waiting. Close, but not close enough to pass. The distance is remarkably little, though, through the final sector once again. Matthew Thunderst has been able to make the most of capitalizing on Eckridge's mistakes. He'll drift through turn 8. Nearly contact from Jack Trucker. And Scott Eckridge on the push fades back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 positions at the line. That sends Scott back to 6th. And now to 7th. Risky, trying to make that move and get closer and closer to Matthew Thunderst. And it will cost him. Instant replay will show you. Watch this. Matthew Thunderst here. Lap prior was still in the mix. Jack Drucker right there. Scott Eckridge was P2. Fast forward in the tape just a little bit further, it goes to show the final segment. Rucker was third, watching and waiting, but take a look now with the now sixth place driver of Scott Eckridge. See how hard he was pushing to make that pass? It'll be no wonder as to why it didn't work out there, just losing grip at the worst moment. Bumper to bumper almost. Only for Eckridge to dive deep. Get loose, slide on his own there. Lucky that there was very little contact, if any, from Jack Drucker. Track temperature's gone up 17 degrees since the beginning of this race, and that was an instance indicative of just that. Cannon to the inside on Ronnie Osmer. The battle for ninth, the advantage now is with Cannon. Track conditions are changing. That track temperature in particular is a big deal. Blake Cannon still with us. Blake Gordon disconnecting for tonight. We now lost Gavin Fitzgerald and Blake Gordon. Gordon right now going to be the tail end of the field as such. So some very early retirees. Number 13, the most recent of which, carrying on right now with 35 drivers on the lead lap. 19 laps in out of 57. Ronnie Osmer going to shake right there. You can see can't keep up with Blake Cannon. Cannon on the push. He's got the confidence he needs, and now JTM Motorsport runs first and second. Thomas Bressi gets up to P2. Ethan Lane is going to be in third, but that's also partially because it looks like now we might be seeing our pit road cycle come to fruition. Watch out as drivers start heading into pit road. We're going to see who decides to go in and when. So far, stint data is going to tell you that the majority of the field, no matter what, has not gone through. Last pit lap will show you when drivers most recently headed down and in. Last pit lap was 0. It means they have not gone in at all. As you'll see, the top 20, none of it has gone through just yet. Drivers have started to bite the bullet, most of which are at the back of the field. Bolarski, Daniel Foss, Blake Gordon, Andrew Schaub, those are the drivers so far that have decided to make their move. Looks like Daniel Foss is going to be on a two-stop strategy today, and as he disconnects, that's no case. Nevertheless, he set himself up for it. End his night prematurely. Now Bolarski right now 35th, and that makes it 34 on the lead lap, side by side. Ethan Lane, Thomas Bressi taking it advantageous into turn 7. Lane looked like he had a shot on the inside, but decided to back out and concede. It's going to be a much safer route for the both of those drivers. Number 24 takes it out of the Go Bowling Green. 1 second. Lane still watching and waiting. Jack Drucker going to slide through turn 1. That gives Hunter Madalenis an opportunity, and he makes it up into P4. Madalenis making gains. That's now up 3 for the 07 car. Again, based on the points per race average, Hunter Madalenis would very likely be your championship leader if he ran every race. He is only 80 points back while missing 3 races. Goes to show his remarkable efforts so far in his few races that he's made relative to his competitors. 24 of Exalta Chevrolet descent lies for several years. Not only in the Night Series, previous years, Thomas Bressi's 24 has become iconic in this circle of drivers. JTM Motorsport no hell. And tonight, it looks like Matthew Thunhorst undeniably has taken storm and he is taking the spotlight. Yes, with Bressi, he is the man, by all accounts. He's done it before and tends to do so once again. He leads the championship. He has the win he needs to secure himself a playoff ticket. Problem mostly becomes, what can you do to really get that buffer? Looks like Rob Ackley going to go down to the inside and slow down, only to fall behind Nicholas Ford. That's for 12th. Ackley's now outside the top 10. Across the line, Thomas Bressi now 2 seconds back on his team. 6th of Ethan Lane stays 3rd. Bressi's big goal, winning this championship after 3 consecutive seasons as the second best man overall. That's got to sting, and it, of course, has to sting once, but the fact it's happened now 3 times, never to another driver, is perhaps the most shocking part. Alec Daffin's championship, Braxton Leese's championship, DJ Stagner's championship, all of which Thomas Bressi was the driver who was on the losing side directly. Scott Eckridge gets by Justin Morton, had to put him back up to 6th. Eckridge in the 70 here. Gets himself almost inside the top 5. He's only 1 position out. It's going to take a lot more work to get that one. Won't be easy, but it's going to be necessary. Eckridge wants a shot at the race. Maybe not the win, but a podium position might not be out of hand. He's still in frame in the battle for second. Ronnie Osmer, Rob Ackley, 11th and 12th, still battling with one another. Look further back, a single file down the line. Ryan McFerrin with Kyle Cooper and Paul Mikolajczyk. Paul has made it up 5 places, up 4 for Kyle Cooper, up 1 for Brian McFerrin. DJ Stagner with lap 1 damage is down 13 on the day and just trying to recover himself and keep on the circuit to salvage as many points as he can. Highly unlikely, though, he's really going to make much of anything. Adelennis coming together with Ethan Lane here. Hunter looks low into turn 7. That is the right position to be in if you want to make a pass. Ethan could use the outside, and he won't back out. Too wide. Nobody's going to give, but Hunter Adelennis takes. He'll get up to 3rd. First time tonight, the 0-7 now gets up inside the podium. That drops Ethan Lane back for the first time in this race as well. Hunter Adelennis now 2 seconds back on Matthew Thunderlist. Closest he's been all throughout the race. Surprisingly enough for Hunter, he is making persistent gains despite the fact that he's been working his tire perhaps harder than anyone else. Remember that we're looking at that increase in track temperature that has continued forth. 103 Fahrenheit. We're now up 20 degrees to this point based on where we were compared to our initial start. 83 to 103. That might not sound like the biggest of deals. 83 is warm enough to begin with, but 103 is scorching. And these tires, black as they come, they absorb that heat and they get burnt. Worse than that, they get scratched up. So for Adelennis to work it out together with all he's been doing and pushing and making up these gains, substantial efforts. Him to be this close now. He's coming up on Thomas Bressi, and Thomas better watch. The rearview mirror driving, that 24. See what happens now as he takes a look on the back end again. Adelennis low, can't quite get there. He'll go as high as he goes, possibly up in the safer barrier, no dice. Thomas Bressi, no choice but to watch into the 90. Sweeping descent into a 90-degree corner where, of course, one driver comes out usually better than the others. That's also because iRacing has very strict track limits. And you go past that yellow and red section, checkerboarded and all, it's very strict. If you go outside with all 4 tires, you will get a slowdown penalty. No choice but for Thomas Bressi to back off there. That's going to give Ethan Lane a shot to return to the podium. No dice, though. Ethan backs off again. For 4th, Jack Drucker for 5th, Scott Eckridge P6. Scott's now fallen back 4, but it looks like the field in front of him has gotten a little bit tighter. If Thomas Bressi drops back, that could be another place that he could gain. Jack Drucker is a little bit further back, separate from this 3-car gaggle. Ethan Lane is getting tighter up. Matthew Thunderlist has led all 25 laps on the day. He's still out on the racetrack here. Interestingly enough, 25 laps in at a 57, we might still see a one-stop strategy. Now, halfway points coming up in lap 28, lap 29, and usually we see drivers go in for a one-stopper when we have our 40-lap Grand Prix. Tonight, with 26 now laps put in, not a driver at the head of the field has gone through. It looks like the magic number will be 29 tonight to really guarantee the second stint is good to go. And we're so close to that point. Looks at the strategic intention of the field. Make it happen. Go to the halfway point. head down a pit road, and run it back once again. Simple numbers usually. We have a smaller race. We're testing the field tonight and giving it a little bit more time and distance, and that's something we haven't done previously. Exciting to see that so far this experiment has worked out. 57 laps of road course racing. We might see extensions on future road course events throughout the Ignite Series calendar. Reminder, this is not the first Ignite Series race into Watkins Glen historically, and also not our first road race for the Integrity Racing League this year. We talked about the Ignite Series. We've gone to the Charlotte Roval, side by side, Ethan Lane now and Thomas Bressi, and can't hold a candle. From here on out, we will have ourselves one road course race in the regular season. That will be in Portland. And then, when you look at the playoffs, well, there won't be any. So we only have one more road course left. Not going to impact the way that the championship race goes down, but still, good races to build up points if you know you're strong at this type of track. There's nothing else like a road course on a stock car racing schedule. Now, the interesting part is that historically, they often say that we didn't have a lot of road course races in stock car racing. That wasn't really true until about the 1970s. If you look back to the early 1950s, 1960s, many a racetrack throughout the United States we used in road course configurations. You can look back to the Linden Airport in New Jersey. We went to Road America in the 1950s, Bridgehampton Raceway in Long Island in the 1950s and 60s. Riverside Raceway was the season opener for the Cup Series until the 1980s. Only until about 40 years ago, we really saw the renaissance of road course racing and stock car machines coming together. That got shut down as the sport ended up moving further and further toward oval racing, the intermediate push, and only now, in the modern NASCAR Cup Series anyway, are we experimenting. The Xfinity Series of the last 20 years has seen Montreal, it has seen Mexico City, it's of course seen Watkins Glen, the Charlotte Roval, Sonoma, California, among others, but if you look back on it, stock car drivers used to have experience with road course racing, often on account of the fact that they were stock cars at one point. It was about 70 years ago. The difference between then and now, a few things. We're racing digital, so drivers can choose whatever they want to test, and also, to look at most other road courses on any other league schedule, they come up maybe once or twice, and they might not come up yearly. That's not often the case with the Integrity Ignite Series. You don't follow the NASCAR schedule exactly here, but there are replications in this formula. How many times we see a type of track, how often it comes back on the schedule on a yearly basis. And it makes it so much more important for a driver to be good at every type of track. If you're a jack of all trades, you might get away better than being a master of none, but if you're a master of one type of racetrack, you've really got yourself a firm shot for at least your 4-race win. That's how, in his first ever time around in the Night Series, Blake Cannon won a race. 9th place right now, but you're seeing drivers come in. The magic number has been hit. Lane, Drucker, Cannon, Boomer Logan, Cal Filarski, Andrew Schaub, all on pit road together. We're halfway down, halfway to go. Ethan Lane is making his way through. And now that leaves Matthew Thunhorse, Hunter Madalenas, and Thomas Bressi the podium to this point. Matthew Thunhorse staying out for his 29th lap. It looks like pit road is imminent. It could be this time by or lap number 31. Regardless, he's gone more than half the race on this stint. The longest stint we've seen at Watkins Glen in Ignite Series. That comes again in large part due to the race being ended at 57 laps. Other circumstance, we'd only have about 11 laps to go coming to this point. We have more time now to really flesh out this run. Undercut and the overcut. Maybe describe it in oval racing won't make as much of a difference today because for Matthew Thunhorse, the difference is only going to be about 5 laps at most. Stay out for this one. Let's see what happens next. Scott Eckert is 4th, Morton is 5th, Don Stevenson 6th. Now Nicholas Ward goes in from 7th place at the time of pit road entry. Braxton DeWeese, more of the same. Your defending champion opts through. One more taker in the form of Jared Davis. 28 laps remain. Braxton DeWeese makes his way around. Matthew Thunhorst on the way, still leading with 28 laps remaining. Hunter Madalenis, though, has gotten remarkably close. Take a look at the gap now. It's only about half a second. Hunter, again, has been a surprise, but a welcome surprise for this. He might not be one of the best-known names of the iRacing calendar. We have pro-rated drivers such as guys in the NASCAR scene, such as Jared Davis, have former champions of other FTNs. PJ Stagner. Madalenis has burst onto the scene, and he's proven that he is no joke. Thunhorst goes to the inside after 30 laps. Now, he comes in with Matthew Thunhorst, of course. That's Hunter Madalenis, Ryan Potter, Josh Christman. Side by side is Eckrich and Thomas Bressie. So, Eckrich makes some gains. Thomas Bressie drops back ever so slightly as it's wide on their way through pit road. Gonna be close here. Who gives? Looks like Bressie gonna get off the accelerator there, give the 96 Gallagher his time, and enter pit road together. 4 tires and fuel gonna be a recipe for everyone. No expectation for an all stop. Well, Vinny Tigner gets on the way. Hunter Madalenis now bursts off. Matthew Thunhorst hits the gas, but Madalenis beats Thunhorst out, and Matthew Thunhorst loses the race off pit road. Ethan Lane gets ahead, but a reminder, he's got 2 laps of older rubber that could play as a disadvantage as the night progresses. It's Lane over Madalenis, then Matthew Thunhorst. And the 07 bolts through the S's. That's a major gain. Huge, as a matter of fact. Hunter Madalenis getting ahead of the man who led all of the opening 30 laps and breaking no sweat. Really goes to show the type of driver he is. This would be his 2nd consecutive road course win, and it looks like we might have a new king of the road courses in 2025. Major shock? Perhaps it was in Charlotte. Now for the 07, it looks to be another Monday drive as he leads those on new rubber. Newest of that, 26 laps to go. Matthew Thunhorst coming across the line, sees that Ethan Lane is in control, the net race leader and the overall race leader. Went down to pit road at lap 29. Like now, minor difference in tire will be the difference maker. Blake Cannon is going to back out for the night, it appears. Just got off the racing circuit, and let's find out why. Taking a lap back with Blake Cannon here. It looks like he manually disconnects from about 16th on the racetrack. So his night's going to come to a close, and he's going to fall further back in the championship pylon. That's really bad news. Watch this. He was with Bressie just before he did that. And contact slightly, once, twice, gets loose through the S's, goes up higher, battling fiercely with the 24 here. But take a look. Loose, big time, and he shoots right down to the inside of the bus stop. Race over. And in the heat of the moment, competing right with his championship rival, Blake Cannon folds. Hunter Madalenis and company, that's going to be good news. But of course, very bad news for Blake Cannon. That could give Nick Tarbuck a shot to join the top 3 in the points. And very likely is going to be Blake Cannon is now more than 100 points behind Thomas Bressie. Paul Mikolajczyk to pit road, this time by 30th and 18th with 25 laps to go. All the final drivers ahead in 18th right now, according to timing and scoring. And look, fall back outside the top 25. Really little else he can do there. In lane 6 to 1st with a 2nd and a half. Hunter Madalenis now, he finds himself P2. .25 laps remaining for the 07 car to make up 15 tenths of a second. The gap right now that he has to additionally make up is Vinny Tigner. Vinny, of course, not going to have any of it. He falls back quickly through the carousel. The leaders have their own room again. Further behind, Nicholas Ward, Ronnie Osmer continue their battle. Second part, and it looks like it includes more of Don Stevenson. Stevenson is 8th. He's kept it there comfortably. Time and time again, although sometimes he's a little bit more incognito, that he is a very solid road course racer. Nothing flashy. Above all else, he keeps himself out of trouble. But when push comes to shove, Don Stevenson can still pull out a very solid road course racing result. Right now, Don finds himself closing in on the top 15 in points. As it stands, a night like this is going to help. 24 laps to go. Stevenson 8th to 8th of the top 10 drivers right now. Well, interesting. All 10 of them who qualify in the top 10 made top 10. Goes to show track position is all that as Stevenson drifts but saves himself and blocks Nicholas Ward. And he almost loses a spot. Gets lucky there just to pull it together at the right time. Then Lane, 1.6 seconds. He's gained over the course of the last lap. Hunter Madalenis now got to think of that game plan. Is the plan to let the time run out, let Lane push, go from there? Or instead, would it be better to try and go aggressive and match Ethan Lane? Based on what I'm seeing right now, not quite sure what the answer would be. Lane still looks to be confident, and for the first time has clean air. That is a major difference. 101 degrees Fahrenheit. Track temperature has decreased 2 Fahrenheit from the high point of the day at 103. That might be because the driver's coming to pit road and a little bit less activity on the circuit. Nevertheless, the amp matching and gone down to 71. And it looks like slowly but surely the sun beginning to set. Control for both drivers. Battle could increase. 22 laps remaining this time by. Whiplash SimCam. Gotta thank them again. They've been bringing best cameras in the iRacing business to us for 2025 and beyond. We've struck up a new partnership. Thankful, very thankful. Pitstop TV welcoming us into the Whiplash SimCams family, and we extend that invitation to you. If you'd like to become a broadcaster, or if you're just a racing fan who has iRacing, they have cameras available for free. Visit the Whiplash SimCams Discord server to learn more. All camera packs cost $5 a piece. Tracks and no licensing fee necessary. They'll be yours to keep. Visit Whiplash SimCams on their social media platforms today to learn more. With 22 laps to go, Ethan Lane is the leading man from Watkins Glen as we crank it up in the Finger Lakes Grand Prix. Hunter Madalenis has dropped the gap between he and Ethan Lane to under 1 second. We now have 18 laps on the clock for drivers to come through. Lap number 40 out of 57. And in previous years, this would have been the checkered flag lap for Ethan Lane. He would have made out like a bandit, but in this situation, he still has quite a ways to go. I think that's going to be playing to his disadvantage above all else. Take a look at this 07 Madalenis here. I'll tell you what, he is fast, rapid. Although it looks like for the first few laps, he let him a tenth or so slip each time by. That hasn't been the case for the last 4 consecutive. Ones that matter now. Time is running out, and it looks like if he can make the most of these next coming laps, he still has that very fair shot at coming to victory. And Lane has to watch and wait. See if he will have to go on defense or if there's anything he can do to begin with. Madalenis on the previous lap ran a 1:13.76. Ethan Lane ran a 1:13.9. So that's about 0.2 of a second separating those two drivers. Over the course of an 18-lap run, they will be separated for enough that it will be nearly a 4-second gap, much like the one Matthew Thunhorst now has to Madalenis and Lane respectively. So that Hunter Madalenis and Ethan Lane, they're much happier where they are now than Matthew Thunhorst is, after Thunhorst led the majority of this race. Led more than 30 as a matter of fact. Even still, finds himself now running inside the podium, far outside the leading battle. The only saving grace would be if there's an incident at the front of the field, which is highly unlikely. Looks like right now, Matthew Thunhorst is going to have to get lucky if he wants a shot at victory. Still one of his best races of the year, of course, and Madalenis drifts big through that S's section. It's going to cost him about a tenth or two. In Lane, just by being calm and consistent right there, and to gain enough to nearly pull a full second in total. Not all too much a difference now between Madalenis and Lane. The only difference that's going to matter will mean much more by the time this race comes to. Here's what we're looking at anyway. Ethan Lane last went down to pit road lap number 29. And then Hunter Madalenis subsequently went in at lap 31. 2 laps. Now, that might not sound like the biggest of deals. Usually 2 laps at most is about miles. But here at Watkins Glen, that's about 5 extra miles run that separates Madalenis from Ethan Lane. 5 miles less wear and tear on a track that has 8 turns and loads of elevation. As a result, Madalenis has less experienced tire, but that's a good thing. It's warmed up, yes, but it also means that it's not going to be significantly more problematic with grip being an issue. Track temperature is decreasing. It is still above 95 degrees Fahrenheit and coming in at 97 exactly. Looks like it's not going to drop under 90 for the entirety of this night. Sunset has continued at an accelerated pace. Lane 7/10 back. Still Hunter Madalenis. The gap between number 6 and 7, one of the closest inside the top 10 as a matter of fact. If you look right now, the only difference that is tighter is between 6. That's going to be Thomas Bressi and Justin Morton. Morton getting ahead of Bressi. Oh, looks like now he's got a shot to do so. Jack Drucker is still 4th. Thomas Bressi right now is in the number 9. JTM runs just inside of the top 10 and might be able to go for a triple top 5. Bressi and Morton had the pace to get up on Jack Drucker. We could see 3, 4, 5 for the JTM guys, and replicating times of old when they swept the podium, of course, by virtue of that, found themselves all on the top 5. This is a team that you have to watch out for when going gets rough, and it's going to mean a lot more at a track like Portland where experience is minimal. They have the instincts and they have that repetition. Look, from beyond Jack Drucker to Bressi and Morton anyway, they have the experience that is necessary. That's something that you can't take away from a driver, even if they are naturally quick. I think that racing insight and that race IQ, in effect, is going to mean a lot more at a track that is less witnessed, less seen, less used than Watkins Glen. Glen, by all accounts, is one of the more popular road course racing circuits on the iRacing platform. So it's no wonder that everyone's doing so well so far and keeping their car in one piece and racing through quickly. Hunter Madalena still P2, just a half-tenth up. Five seconds back is Matthew Thunor Steven Still. 2 seconds behind Jack Drucker. Top 10 rounded out now by Rob Ackley. Nicholas Ward's gotten away for the single digits. Closer battles lie further behind, but overall 27 drivers are on the lead lap. The next to go one lap down would be Gael Brooks, although it looks like for the time being, Brooks is in a comfortable position. Hang tight, stay on the lead lap. About 10-15 seconds up in that status. Lane will have time, but I'm not sure if it's going to be enough to lap Brooks or if the intention is to do. "13 laps remain. Hunter Madalenas now, whether he's delaying the inevitable or if he has the stuff to do anything, still we don't know. When it becomes all about hiding the ace up your sleeve if you have it, or using it instantaneously. Really no in between. If you show your cards and you can't play them through, then it is an outright failure. Nevertheless, Hunter Madalena so far, looks like that outright failure is far from his circumstance or Ethan Lane's. Falling back on Lane now, second after second. Gonna be a good section for the 07. Lane nearly goes lawn mowing, shoots himself to the middle of the corner, through the carousel, and drag it together quick. Hunter Madalenas gains 0.2 of a second immediately, but drags it off the exit of the carousel as well. That could have been the opportunity to pass, but both drivers were shaky. Coming down under the Go Bowling Bridge again. It's still as close as it gets. Fact, it's only getting tighter. Hunter Madalenas now watching Ethan Lane go into turn 1. Lane hits the apex, and right now, if he just hits his marks, he'll have a stronger chance of contending against Madalenas than anyone else. To be intimidated out of line would be game over for the 6 team, but still, no one's moved him out like that. Hunter has had no problem. Every other driver in the field except for Lane. Lane shot himself up to the top of the board with an alternate strategy call, and the undercut so far has worked in his favor. He might be slightly slower pace-wise. That track position is indispensable in a championship race, and of course, a race in the Integrity Night Series as a whole. Lane might not be involved in the title battle, but Hunter Madalenas absolutely is, and he knows Lane is championship caliber if he goes full time. So this is a battle that is very important for the 07 team. Fourth, Hunter already has 2 wins on the season. Wins tonight, he'll tie Blake Cannon for the most of any one driver with 3. Face off in uncertain territory against one of the best on the platform, let alone the league. Critical test of skill for Hunter. 12 to go. Coming to now 11 laps remaining. Lap number 47 of 57 here. The S's are dominated by only 2, and they've broken out by more than 6 seconds over every other driver. Remarkable racing from both. Did not lead for more than 30 laps and now fully control the second half for Lane and Madalenas. Tale of flipping the picture, making pit road the most important point on track. Coming to turn 7. Time still to spare. Ethan Lane only about 3 car lengths up, less than 0.2 of a second at its tightest. Watch what happens. 10 laps remaining. Hunter Madalenas all over the back end now for the number 6. Lane is on active defense for the first time in more than 5 laps. Madalenas couldn't go through. Ethan Lane gets the gas on it. And it looks like Madalenas, while a great entry into turn 1, could not follow suit, and the run through the S's is going to be significantly weaker. The gap is a half second again. Lane gets a break, but we'll see how long it cuts him. Nine laps coming up. Thomas Bressi going at it with Jack Drucker here. He's gotten ahead, and you'll see it's a 4-car posse. There is Jack Drucker, very loose, and now heading to the high side. Cutting through the grass, almost losing control. The 56 slides, puts it together. Eckrich just behind. Scott still looking for a top 5 opportunity. On the outskirts of Whip. And still hasn't gotten it. Justin Morton in number 9, 5th to 7th. Could still be 3 top 5s for that JTM crew. Eckrich and Jack Drucker fall to Morton. Thomas Bressi's been able to get by both, but Morton is still on the back end. And Lane 6th to 1st. Remarkable what he's done to this point. 9 coming to 8 laps remaining. And he's been on defense with older rubber now for more than 20 laps. Hopping through those S's. He's right where he needs to be. But of course, Hunter Madalenas, perhaps in a better spot. This is where you have to question, is defense the best place to be in this situation, or is it offense? Hunter Madalenas can put the pressure down at any time, but Ethan Lane has the spot everyone's looking for. Take a ride on board briefly again with Madalenas. You'll see what's happening. A little bit loose there, and Hunter, for the second time in 3 laps with a minor slip up, might be indicative he doesn't have it. That's going to be another big break cut for Lane at the line. He's going to gain again, another 2/10. Hunter Madalenas. Unbelievable how close he's gotten, but some slip-ups. Very slight. Number 6, Elaine. Bumping through those S's. I'll tell you what, if he can hang on with 7 laps remaining, it might be one of the best races and wins of his Ignite Series career or his Integrity Octane Series career. Perhaps levels to it akin to his very first in Rockingham in 2023. You really don't get a comeback at a track like Watkins Glen, so he can't go through the whole circuit and make his way up. But the fact of the matter is that he's taken this old rubber against one of the now best drivers in the field straight up, and he's proven again why he's at the top of his game. Lane, 7 laps to go. Whichever way this goes, it's a great win for either driver. But they write that final chapter, and it's up ahead of us now in a turn 1 advantage lane. Coming up on Will Riker, the lapper goes to the inside and gets out of the way. Lane is forced to stretch it, as is Madalenas. Hunter, tell you what, gets around and does it a little bit easier. Much more natural flow while Lane forced himself to the outside. That's why they're so close now, coming through the S's again. Into the carousel. Hunter Madalenas may be getting a big break as we make our way through. The 81 of Brandon Bernhardt goes high. Bernhardt gets out of the way, as does Gael Brooks. 71, he's got a choice. Matthew Thunor stays third. Brooks is going to be ahead. He's still far out from here. It's very likely he will not play any role in this one. Madalenas bumper to the 6 of Lane. Contact, 6 laps to go. Madalenas looks low, can't get the runoff exit. Still looks lower again. Maybe if he didn't get that bump off, he would have been just quick enough to duck to the bottom. Still couldn't get there. 6 to go. Ethan Lane working through traffic very well there. The only hiccup was Will Reichert, and Reichert did get out of the way by staying on the inside for both drivers. Matt Alenis, you don't know if it was his final shot there. This is where that Herculean effort in making the old tires work may be contrasting as he's pushing so much harder now to just keep up with Lane. Matt Alenis took off, got to Lane, and it looks like Lane knew what he had to do to keep that pace and just match it. Only about 0.4 of a second again. Still no big difference. Five laps remaining. Just it out. 10 miles to go. Just over, in fact. 12 and a half as they came across the stripe. Into the 90 again. Matt Alenis is now lockstep with Ethan Lane. They've been bumper to bumper for the final sector of the prior lap. And on to lap 53, it's more the same again. Matt Alenis has kept himself so close here to Ethan Lane. It is striking, even with the mistakes. He's loose, I mean, you can see it inside of this cockpit. It looks like he's driving a boat out there. Circuit's gotten a little grippier, but what a push there for Matt Alenis. He gets the entry. Lane gets a little bit more of the exit. These cars are bottling. They're eating the curbs, getting down to the inside, almost by the grass every time. They're on the limit. There is no driver, no set of drivers that is riding the edge of perfection closer than these two. And maybe we've never seen it before in the Ignite Series to such a degree. Ethan Lane still holds forth. 4 laps remaining. From the backside, Matt Alenis still can't make the look. The bus stop. Close as it gets again. I mean, Matt Alenis pushes that entry, and that's one of the riskiest portions of the circuit. You might see that he gets close to that inner lining, which is not safe for barrier, the guardrail. Matt Alenis ends up making contact with that guardrail. It is race over. He is pushing diligently, but he's doing so in a more risky manner, I think, than Ethan Lane. I think that's the differentiator. Matt Alenis is going to stop at nothing now, but Ethan Lane has the ball in his court. 3 laps to go. To think that by this point, maybe Lane would have figured he'd be far out of it. His defense has been impeccable, and he comes across the line again a leader. Matt Alenis has gone from 7th up to 2nd. Lane 6th up to 1st. These two drivers have ascended the ranks together, and now they're here. While the dominant JTM team runs now 3, 4, and 6 on the ladder, it's the independent men at the top of the board making it happen for victory. But Matt Alenis is going to falter through that S's section. And I'm thinking now, slowly as you see it, Ethan Lane, with the defense and the calm demeanor up in front, has the edge. He does not have the golden ticket out of this battle, but he's very well put together to finish it off. Coming toward now the Jackie Stewart grandstands for only 2 more laps. Matt Alenis over the last 3 laps consecutively has lost at least 1/10 of a second, making the gap nearly 6 across the start-finish line. Next time back by, of course, the white flag. Hunter Madalenis drifting into turn 1 ever so slightly. Minor fluctuations in that line. The gap was 5/10 on the dot. Ethan Lane, an hour and 9 minutes consecutively racing, no brakes, no cautions, and he's still holding through. 6th up to 1st, one more lapper as you take a look on board. That might be the only interruption. Josh Gallagher further ahead. And furthermore, Ryan Potter is directly next up. Madalenis with a good run through. He'll make the bus stop look easy and drifts a little bit higher. That's going to cut the gap by nearly 3/10. Can he hold it consistently, though, is the question. Madalenis using every inch. Ethan Lane has been now a little bit more relaxed and subdued, hoping to see a mistake in the back end rather than concerning himself with defense. Next time by, 1 lap to go. Under the Go Bowling Bridge, Madalenis all of a sudden pulls more than 10 laps to misfortune and throws it under the rug. White flag flies, Lane with the edge into turn 1, but we have 2.4 miles left to settle it. Madalenis nicely puts it together, slowly backs it into the corner. Ethan Lane drives it deeper. He'll take the edge into the S's as well. Hunter slicing, dicing, all the way loose. He'll slow down big. Hunter Madalenis into turn 3, drifting, and he's still out of all. His control has slipped, and the 07 team, now into the bus stop, has to pull it together again. But Ethan Lane has the advantage, and it's a huge one now. Madalenis drove it too hard. He was sliding to begin with, and he pushed his luck. He'll stay second, but Ethan Lane has the gap he needs. 7/10 of a second with time to spare. 2 more corners. Passing through the fans in the grandstands once again, and taking it in for our final of 57 laps. Old rubber, the undercut. It works out. Ethan Lane proves again why exactly he is pro-rated. The Castrol Edge Ford Mustang does the unthinkable and makes the old tires winners at Watkins Glen. Ethan Lane with the checkered flag from the Finger Lakes Grand Prix. Lane, Madalenis, Gunnels. That's your podium. And what a valiant effort from Hunter Madalenis again. Got remarkably close. The difference was just excellence of Ethan Lane's defense. Very unlikely there was no other driver that could have matched or bested Hunter. Instead, he got paired up with the only driver who could do it. And not count out Ethan Lane in any circumstance. Checkered flag for Lane, and he's about to celebrate. Don Stevenson, the 47, flies by. All of the drivers giving this winning man his space. Ethan Lane, although he found himself outside the top 20 of the championship conversation coming in, he is now tied for the winningest driver in the Ignite Series. That is his 3rd. Checkers of Wreckers has been the enigma. Number 6 of Ethan Lane. Very tricky to follow the process. Not necessarily a reckless driver, but he's always trying to get that upper edge. Tonight, he risked it all and came out the luckiest of any of the 43 starters. Lane is going to celebrate and burn it down everywhere. And why not? Checkered flag is his. Parking it at last. Ethan Lane, winner from Watkins Glen. 57 laps and wonderful racing laps at that. And great to see it for the first time this extended Grand Prix format in the Integrity Racing League. Checkered flag on the day falls for Ethan Lane, with Hunter Madalenas finishing then in second. Third place is then Matthew Thunhorst, and P4 is Thomas Bressi. Scott Eckridge finishes in fifth with Justin Morton sixth. Seventh is Justin Morton. Rival on the day in Jack Drucker. Eighth, Nicholas Ward. Ninth is Don Stevenson. And P10, Rob Ackley, the number 22. Nick Tarbuck is 11th, and Braxton Deweese is in 12th, with Michael Araya in 13th, Ronnie Osmer 14th, and Jacob Fife, P15. It'll be then Jared Davis in the 16th spot, 17th, and Brett McClendon, Cody Smith 18th, Elliot Henderson 19th, and Casey 21st place is Kyle Cooper with Sebastian Miller 22nd, Brian McFerrin then 20th, Paul Mikolajczyk in 20th, DJ Stagner 25th, L. Brooks 26th, Will Reichard 7th, Signer 28th, Josh Gallagher P29, and Ryan Potter in 30th. 30th on back include Brandon Bernhardt, Josh Christman, Andrew Hamilton, Blake Cannon, Cal Filarski, Daniel Foss, Blake Gordon, Andrew Schaub. 38th is Gavin Fitzgerald and Steve Durham, the number 21. 40th. 41st on back, Boomer Logan, Cole Freilich, and Michael Schroeder. We'll speak first to your winning driver tonight. Third win of the season, and a multi-time winner across both the Ignite and Octane series, but I would have to argue that this year, at the very least, this was the best of them. Number 6 crew. Ethan Lane proved again, there's no doubt who's at the top of the pylon. Old tires, an undercut, and Hunter Madalenas hard charging for 20-plus laps. Without leading any for the first 30, Lane, you took the field by storm and won dominantly to end this race. The good times rolling for the 6 crew, your third win, tied for the most of any driver in the Ignite series.
Yeah, that was tough. I'm sitting over here sweating. Hunter absolutely pushed me to my max tonight. I don't think I could have driven any harder than that. No, so the only reason I short pitted the field because I knew track position was key, and I knew they would stay out for the stage and everything. So I said, screw stage points. We're gonna come in, get tires, and jump them. And we pulled out to a 2-second gap, I think it was, and then yeah, it worked out. And unfortunately, we broke the car I think 20 laps into the race, so we were a little slower than what we wanted to be. But God, that that was fun having to push that hard.
There was no room for error. There was no shortage of excitement. I'll tell you this much, from the broadcast perspective, that's about the closest we've seen drivers going inch to inch with towing the line of the best laps they could put lap after lap here at Watkins. And I know for you, you were in the defensive position where any moment could have been the very end. Can you walk us through how it was keeping that car on edge and still having control?
It was mainly just not overdriving the corners and then getting off the corners, because I knew if he couldn't match me off the corner, he wouldn't have a chance in the passing zones, and it worked out, especially off turn one out of the S's, and then the final corner and the carousel. But it was a fine line of either will hopping it into the corners or absolutely underdriving it, and we managed to make it work. Don't know how. Was not expecting that at all. But yeah, we'll definitely take that W.
Well-needed victory. And it was a race of two halves, I'll tell you this much. Tires, it looks like maybe playing a part with grip and control. The track temperature increased 20 degrees over the course of the race, and pit stops, those were everything. What led to the call for you to go in earlier than all your competitors there?
Me breaking the car into the bus stop. That's exactly what it was. It was very difficult to pass tonight, so I figured if I could get the track position, and not make any major mistakes, we could hang on to it. And yeah, I mean, who knows? If I didn't break the car, I don't think I would have pulled that strategy. But looking in hindsight now, I'm kind of glad I did.
Now, a third win and another checkered flag at these road course circuits. We don't have one coming up next for a long while. The next one is going to be Portland, in fact, but we're coming up on another off week. Till that point, we have one more race until we end the month of May. That is going to be the Charlotte Motor Speedway for our longest of the season, the 300-miler, halfway point of the Coke 600. Endurance race, and it's a classic now on our schedule. How do you feel about heading toward one of our crown jewel races, the defending winner?
I'm loving it. Charlotte's one of my favorite racetracks. There's multiple grooves. Um, you'll probably see me ripping the blue line most of the night until rubber gets put on the top line. But once that top line comes in, expect to see me up there.
Ethan Lane fighting hard, dominating the second stretch, and keeping things intense till the very end for win number 3 on the campaign. Any final comments you'd like to leave us with after this big win?
Thanks to you, David, for running these broadcasts. Everyone, integrity. Really, really enjoyable race. Really tough race. Also, shout out to Hunter. Thank him for racing me clean. He didn't have to a couple times. He could have moved me out of the way, but earned a lot of respect out of him tonight for doing that.
Ethan Lane, toe-to-toe with the Madalena's crew, still the checkered flag, and a winner again in Watkins Glen. Thank you for stopping by.
Thank you.
Lane, a veteran, fights one of our rookie racers, and still, without 10 races under his belt in the Ignite Series, Madalenas has transformed himself into the figure every driver's watching out for, particularly at these road courses. While not a win, it was intense between you and Ethan Lane. I'm sure you would have loved to get the job done, Hunter, but it looked like there was only one driver who met your match.
Yeah, I was about the most difficult road course race I think I've ever driven in my 5 years or so on iRacing. I mean, that was the most I've ever had to push a race car on its limit, and I found the limit quite a few times there trying to get to him. It was just kind of difficult with, you know, he had clean air, so every time we made it to going up the S's, I just had to, kind of back off. I would lose a tenth or two just because the aero was so important going up those S's that I just couldn't stay with him, and that just allowed him to hold me off through every one of those good passing zones that I just couldn't get around him.
First and foremost, qualifying today made it a little bit more challenging for both you and Lane. You started in 7th place, not a bad position, but worked your way up into the podium naturally through the opening 30-lap stint and kept the field on its toes. Now, above all those other drivers, you have to push a little bit harder with the rubber based on positions gained, going up against guys who started in the top 5, started in the podium. How did you manage yourself so well to get yourself?
Yeah, looking back at Roval we had like 6-7 weeks ago. I didn't qualify. I think I qualified 5th there too. So it's not all the ways about qualifying up front at these road courses. It especially is at this track. So I was kind of worried once we went to go take that green that starting 7th I was probably not going to make up as many positions as I could. But it kind of turned into we got around lap 20 of the fuel run and guys in front of me just started falling off. Rear tires were going away, so I was able to pick them off one by one, and then Ethan got into the wall there a little bit, and I got all the way up to Thunderhurst. Had about the best pit road entry I could. Was entered pit road right on his bumper. Was perfect pit road speed through the whole pit road. Had like just an absolute perfect stop in my stall, and then got off pit road in front of him, which was a key factor of me being able to go get Ethan. But once I got to him, the tires were just killed and he had that fresh air.
there. That might be one of the things that we didn't see. There was 7 team. I'll tell you what, going after Ethan Lane, had that lead and that advantage. How important do you think it would have been if you were to have the clean air compared to the 16?
Yeah, it's everything here. Especially when you got two guys that are going to their absolute limit. Clean air is probably the best defensive maneuver you can have. I didn't get to see him pit that little bit early. He played that strategy at the Roval as well. He wanted to pit early to get track position, and I was just hoping maybe those 2 laps extra tires we had were gonna be able to get us around him, but they burnt off the second we got to his rear, and everything after that was just giving it my all to try and keep it with him.
And until that white flag lap, the gap between you and Lane within a half second. Now, you're coming up on what's going to be your 10th start in the Integrity Ignite Series next week. 300-miler from the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Intermediate race that goes long. In fact, it's our long half race schedule. Still haven't ever made an attempt or a start in this race yet, so it's a pretty big challenge, I figure. How do you think you're going to tackle it?
I'm excited for the opportunity. Excited for the chance. A longer race normally means you got to be better on the long run, and I feel like that's where we've strived this whole season. Yeah, and just hopefully by the checkered flag next week, we're one position better than we finished this week.
Hunter Madalenas keeping this rookie season strong with a very exciting second place run, no doubt about that. The Empire State, anything else you'd like to leave us with?
Yeah, just shout out to Ethan Lane. That was an absolute perfect race run by both of us. Thank you to you, David, putting on these broadcasts every single week. I love going back and watching them, and just everyone in the night series. It just shocks me being able to race so clean around all these guys, but so aggressive at the same time. So I really appreciate every weekend I get to race with you guys.
Hunter Madalenas, 0.7 of a second off, 2 consecutive road course wins for the rookie in the.
Thank you very much.
Madalenas on the way. Both of these drivers were excellent, but there was only one that led the most laps tonight, and I'm sure Matthew Thunhorse maybe not the happiest not to win, but nevertheless 30-plus led and a podium finish for the 8 crew. Matthew, coming into this race, you're second in the championship standings, going up against your teammate in Thomas Bressi. Tonight, more than a serviceable outing for the whole JTM crew, but especially for yourself.
Yeah, it seems that way, David. And it's, the one thing that worked out the best for me was just getting that pole early on. And I expected, like lap 4, I expected Scott to end up nabbing me or something there. And he just started taking it easy. And then once he started getting there, because I just couldn't keep the front tires on it. And, so when I saw him fall back and I saw I could get the stage win and try to get the most laps led for another bonus point, and I knew it was just a matter of time before someone like Ethan, especially short pitting, or Hunter got to me or any of those guys. I just figured it was a matter of time, so I get the points while I could. And I felt good at points, and I didn't feel good overall. But, we'll take a third. I feel like I stole one here. So, just got lucky that there was some trouble behind me and that I just had a good qualifying position to kind of get positioning that way, because I don't think I would have earned it if I had to race up from like 8th or 10th on the grid.
Yeah, you mentioned getting the best qualifying position in this race. Of course, 43 drivers, pole position, meaning a whole lot more. At the road course races previously, if you start up front, likely you end up front. How was it for you managing that clean air in the opening laps? It appears that's, of course, what got you those bonus.
Yeah, honestly, the car felt really good, and I was kind of, I know Scott Eckridge, I believe. He was pretty good, so I was kind of following him in practice and kind of noticed how he's backing up some brake zones, and I made some changes, and I struggled too much in the bus stop. I felt like I do good, and it's, oh, hey, I basically got a runway to get this thing slowed down. It's, oh, no, I missed it, and then I would bleed like, a quarter or a half second every time I do that, and then, and the car felt really good. It's just the problem is I got about, like I said, about halfway through the run, and the front just felt like, yeah, we've been abused, we're done. And especially there towards the end of the race, I was struggling with that. So it's just, I was hoping maybe Ethan and Hunter might mix it up, and I have a shot to recover, but I just fell so far back. I just didn't have a shot. So at that point, it was just keep it on the track, don't get incidents, and get some more bonus points that way, and try to bring it home on the podium.
Looks like tonight, top three exactly where you put it as we come toward our crown jewel, the 300-miler in Charlotte. This number 8 team has taken off over the last 5 races and is now direct championship rival. And a nice championship spot you've been in it now more than a year. Less than 50 points back with many a race to spare before the regular season ends. What's the next goal for this 8 crew to keep progress?
I think just what we have been doing, David. I mean, I myself as a driver just don't have the speed of, like, say, at some of these places like Hunter, Ethan, I mean, some of the others, Bressy's shown us speed, Cannon's been good, like the last week. It's just, we go to these mile and a halves and I'm just not very good. And I still got to keep working on stuff. And so it's when we have opportunities like this, or, just where we have a bad race at, say, like Motegi, where we're not going to get wins probably, but it's grab top 5s where we can and just try to top 10 this championship to death and just try to keep that consistency, because I think outside of like a fuel mileage thing at Indy, that's all I've been doing is just top 10 in this ever since the 3rd race, and it's brought me from like 43rd in points to 2nd. So, just keep doing that, and so maybe some of these fast guys will keep doing it, but then it's someone like Cannon that's kind of checkers or wreckers. It's he can go out and have a dominating win like last week, and then it's he has a rough week this week, so it kind of averages out in my favor. So it's just try to avoid the nonsense and just keep grabbing all the points we can where we can, because I don't know, especially with how stout this field is, that I'll nab a checkered flag this year, which we'll work on it. We'll see. Hopefully as we go through the year, I'll get faster and maybe have a good lucky break and get a checkered flag one way or another. But just keep working on it, keep it on track, keep doing all the laps, and just get all the points we can when we can. And it's worked so far. We're like over a third of the way through the season now, so just got to keep it up for the next third so we can get locked in for the championship.
12 races, tied for first in top 10s, tied for third in top 5s. Consistency is key for the 8 crew to come third place here in New York. Matthew, anything else you'd like to talk about before we head out?
Yeah, David, just, thanks for, everybody at the Integrity Ignite League, from the admins to everybody who comes out and races. Hopefully it was a really good show. I know Ethan and Hunter were really mixing it up there. So, and just, everybody and yourself at Fireball Talks NASCAR for, broadcast, and just everybody that tunes in week in, week out, hopefully they find it to be enjoyable. And just thanks to all the sponsors, Next Level Race. And I'm glad to have Sim Motion on the car and put on a good showing for them. So just thanks to everybody involved. And I guess it's a crown jewel next week, so I doubt you'll be speaking to me because I'm not very good at mile and a half, but it's Charlotte, so try to see what we can get there, and see y'all next Monday.
Matthew Thunor's consistency is key. 2nd pole position of the year, converted to a top 3 finish. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you, David.
Matthew on the way. That number 8 crew is going to go P3. JTM Motorsport going 3rd, 4th, and 6th on today for their big 3 road course drivers. Fitting, they've been there since the beginning. Nevertheless, Matthew Thunhorse finishes 3rd, and Hunter Madalenas comes away with a 2nd place finish. Ethan Lane, though, held him off for the better part of 30 laps and wins his 3rd race of the season. Lane has been unstoppable when he's on his A game, and it proves once again that Ethan, with one of the top talents of the iRacing scene, is pushing everyone to go better and stronger on a weekly basis. Rookie in his 9th career start, only 7/10 away from knocking off one of the pro-rated drivers, one of under 300 on this service. Checkered flag falls from Watkins Glen tonight, but it doesn't mean that we're done and done from this circuit for the Integrity Racing League. In fact, we'll be back here tomorrow night with the Integrity Octane Series as they take on the circuit in Schuyler County for 41 racing laps. Stay tuned live on FTN Broadcasting. That'll be Tuesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, and we'll begin racing again at about 9:15 as per the same. That's tomorrow night, though, but it's been all for today. You've been watching exclusive coverage from the virtual Watkins Glen International in Schuyler County, New York. From FTN Broadcasting, you've been watching coverage of the Finger Lakes Grand Prix. I've been your host for tonight's action. I'm David Kreutz, commentating and producing. And if you enjoyed our 12th race of the season, stay tuned for our 13th next week, a 300-mile thriller from the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Congratulations to Ethan Lane on his third win of the season. We hope to see you next week at Charlotte and tomorrow from Watkins Glen once again. Thank you for tuning in. We hope you have a fantastic night.